Still drowning in news. The Denver Broncos have hired former Saints head coach Sean Payton, baby. We're holding.
What the hell is pimento cheese?
Tom Brady has announced his retirement from the NFL. For real this time. Come on, kick the field goal, take the points. Win the game.
No, you have to that.
See you later. Welcome to Ruffing the Past, the show that talks football, miscellaneous stuff, and mostly football. I'm your host, Sam Ruffing, and this is part 2 of episode 91, because there was so much news in episode 91 part 1 that I just had to keep going. It's just it can't contain all the news. Anyways, one of the bigger headlines that I didn't get to touch on in the last episode was Nick Saban retiring from college football in a shocking move. After I don't know how many years at Alabama, since 2007, I think. He coached the Crimson Tide to 6 national championships, which is insane. He won the SEC I don't know how many times. I'm not a most avid college football fan, but man, that is impressive. And he retired this season after winning the SEC championship once again and losing to Michigan in the college football playoff. And it came out of absolutely nowhere. Like, I didn't see it coming. A lot of recruits didn't see it coming. Alabama players and coaches were like, what? He's retiring? I mean, he's older than Bill Belichick, sure, but still. It was a surprise move to everyone. And what a legacy he's leaving behind. And I feel bad for DeBoer. Is that the head coach name of the new Alabama head coach? I really feel bad for him because he has to take over that and try and replicate at least some decent winning seasons. Granted, it shouldn't be too hard because you're getting top recruiting classes no matter what. But you're going to feel the side effects, which Alabama already is, as they have lost their freshman quarterback from last year, who was highly recruited. I don't know how high, but he was a 5-star, I'm pretty sure. He's entered the transfer portal today, so that's not good, but just like Bill Belichick in the NFL, Nick Saban in college football was just amazing. Like, he led the team to beat every single year. I know this was the video Isaac Punts did. Sorry. But, great head coach, very similar to Belichick, fundamentals. Keep yourself in the game, defense, all that. Although he had the added benefit of being able to recruit whoever he wanted, unlike in the NFL. He could recruit a 5-star receiver every year, or 2, or 3, or a top tight end, or a top running back, or top O-lineman, or top quarterbacks. It was truly impressive. All the thing about top quarterbacks is he didn't really have, till the end there, many quarterbacks who were actually, who were actually winning the big games for him, who ended up in the NFL as starters. I mean, A.J. McCarron was a backup. I have no clue who won the 2015 national championship for Alabama, or 2016, whatever it was. It was played in 2016. Jalen Hurts obviously made the NFL. Mac Jones made the NFL, but he's struggled, and Tua's been up and down. Bryce Young is looking very iffy after this past season. So obviously he's had more NFL talent recently, but they've looked iffy in the pros, but looked great at Alabama. And it's honestly just impressive that he was able to maintain such a great run. So congratulations on your retirement, Nick Saban. Enjoy it. Everyone's surprised you retired. But I have to ask, what happened to the SEC now with him gone? Obviously Georgia's the top dog, pun intended. But I've noticed, I'm sure a lot of other people have as well, the conference might be losing a bit of its luster. This last year, they actually had a losing record, the SEC, outside of conference play. The top teams like LSU were 9-3. Ole Miss was the 3rd best team. Missouri was good, but they weren't nearly as good as they have been in years past. No SEC team made the college football playoff championship for the first time since the first college football championship. I think the college football playoff championship since the first one with Oregon and Ohio State. The Big Ten obviously is adding some new talent in Washington and USC and UCLA and Oregon. They're looking more like a tougher conference, although Jim Harbaugh's probably going to leave, so you never know. And Ohio State did just hire Bill O'Brien, which is a very questionable move. But with Nick Saban gone, you have Lane Kiffin, Dabo Sweeney. Is that his name? No. Kirby Smart. Kirby Smart, not Dabo Sweeney, as the head coaches now in the SEC. And it's just like a little weaker. Obviously, you have Texas coming in and Oklahoma, but they're eh. So I don't know. I don't think necessarily the SEC is going to drop in terms of being the most powerful conference, but I could see it happen. It wouldn't surprise me if the Big Ten becomes the big conference with their new talent, although knowing the SEC, they'll find a way to change that, as they always have, because they dominated college football for the past, 100 years or whatever. They've just been a dominant force for ages. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. I want to touch a little more on the head coaches who were fired recently. Obviously, Pete Carroll one was shocking to me, but Mike Vrabel was almost not as shocking, but very shocking too. I mean, as I mentioned, he had back-to-back losing seasons. I'm not sure how responsible for trading A.J. Brown, but he did trade A.J. Brown, and Ryan Tannehill struggled, but Mike Vrabel took the team from an so-so team to the playoffs and beating, Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. He led them to a number 1 seed in 2021. He's been a solid head coach with mid to average quarterback play from Ryan Tannehill. He just got himself a young quarterback in Will Levis with lots of potential. I'm still surprised they got rid of Mike Vrabel. He's going to be for teams out there like Washington or Seattle, you got Mike Vrabel on the free agency market. You don't get Jim Harbaugh. That's not a bad option, and I'm still surprised they fired him. Ron Rivera, the firing, as mentioned in the previous episode, was not surprising. It's a shame. I like Ron Rivera. He seems like a really nice guy. It's just his defense collapsed just the entire season. The offense was good. Sam Howell looked promising at the start, but fell off too. But yeah, that one was gonna be inevitable. He went 4-13. He can't go 4-13. Expect to be around as a head coach again, unless you're Hugh Jackson. But even but not so surprising there. Arthur Smith, not so surprising. Bill Belichick could reportedly go to the Falcons, which would be weird, but kind of fitting. I mean, great defense. Kyle Pitts, great potential tight end. He does love his tight ends. Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier, decent O-line. Needs to fill a quarterback for free agency this year. You got Russell Wilson as a free agent. You got Kirk Cousins as a free agent. All in all, not bad. You throw in Josh McDaniels, those guys. Could work out in Atlanta. That'd be very interesting to see. Now, what I really want to get on to now, though, is the Dallas Cowboys lost to the Green Bay Packers in the wild card round. This one is just entirely unacceptable. I'm sorry, but you had home field advantage. You were great throughout the regular season. You're facing Green Bay, who's kind of rebuilding. I mean, they got a bunch of young receivers, a new quarterback who sat for 3 years and no one had any idea what to make of him. You're at home, which you haven't lost in since 2022. You have one of the best offenses in the NFL, an amazing defense, and you allow them to score 48 on you. 48! It's mad. And obviously, as much as I'm a Mike McCarthy fan, I think he's a very solid head coach. I thought you'd at least have to move off of him because of that. That loss is unacceptable. You can't lose to Green Bay like that. You might even have to move off of Dak, but I'll get onto that later. But according to reports, Jerry Jones is keeping Mike McCarthy around for at least one more season, and I am utterly stunned by this move. I mean, it kind of feels like the Bills keeping Sean McDermott last year, which I questioned at the time. I thought they should fire Sean McDermott. But however, Sean McDermott has seemed to turn around in Buffalo. He's led them back to the divisional round. They look great. They can run the ball now. Fired, Ken Dorsey, brought in Joe Brady. All working out there. But Mike McCarthy, after losing that game, he's struggled in big games so many times, and you're going to bring him back? I do question it again. Like, maybe Jerry Jones had a talk with him after the game, put the fear of God in him to change up his style so he can actually win a dang playoff game that's close in a shootout, because goodness knows he's not done that in his career. I mean, he's had so many opportunities to win easy playoff games. And I like Mike McCarthy. I thought Aaron Rodgers was a little bit responsible. But, I mean, come on. You lose the 2007 NFC Championship game to that Giants team, which did go on to win the Super Bowl, but, like, you had home field, you had the cold in your advantage. You lose to Tampa Bay in the 2020 NFC Championship game. You blow a 2-touchdown lead against the Seattle Seahawks in 2014. And then you blow this game against the Green Bay Packers. Like, really? You're going to bring him back one more year? Obviously, we have to wait and see, but I mean, especially when there are other head coaching candidates out there. I mean, if this were last season, fine. I mean, maybe you could get Sean Payton, but pretty similar to Mike McCarthy. Not the same coach, but pretty similar to Mike McCarthy. But this year, Jim Harbaugh's available, Bill Belichick's available, Pete Carroll's available, Mike Vrabel's now available. Goodness. Nick Siriani could be available, and I know people are bashing Nick Siriani, but it'd be hilarious to see him in Dallas. Like, Jerry, I know you want to do it your way, but you got to give up some control at some point. Maybe he knows what he's doing with the move. I could definitely see it work out, but still, it's questionable. Especially with all those coaches on the, market. And even Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott's 2-8 in his career in the playoffs or something like that. Not sure the exact number, but he has only 2 playoff wins in his career up to this point. Can we ask some questions? Like, I like Dak this year. I thought he really impressed me. He was playing a lot better than he had been in previous seasons, kept the turnovers to a minimum, was slinging it, was an MVP candidate for a little bit there. But he came to the playoffs again and lost again, and he played poorly. Ignore the 400 yards. Most of those were garbage time. He threw 2 bad interceptions. One was a pick 6. And you're bringing him back. Again? He's going to be expensive next year. And just like... I know people might hate me for this. But just like Mike McCarthy, there are other options at quarterback out there. Russell Wilson with this team, CeeDee Lamb, Jake Ferguson, Tony Pollard, good O-line, Brandon Cooks, bring in another receiver, maybe trade for Tyler Lockett, because Russ will be a lot cheaper than Dak Prescott is. I'm just saying, that would be interesting to me. I suggested it last year. Obviously, didn't happen. Probably for the best. It's actually 2 years ago now. But Russell Wilson in Dallas, not going to have as big a pay cut as Dak Prescott. We already know he can win big games. I mean, he beat the Packers, he beat the Chiefs, he beat the Bills, he beat the Vikings, and he beat the Browns. 5 straight wins. Dak Prescott, he faces a winning team, and he gets 1 win. I mean, he lost to the Miami Dolphins, a team that was 1-5 against winning teams. Their only win coming against Dallas, which didn't mean a whole lot. I'm just saying, I would consider moving off Dak Prescott. Maybe he's turning it around. Maybe this loss kind of wakes him up like the Bills last year. I don't know. I could see that happening, but I'm just questioning it a little bit. Speaking of the Miami Dolphins, they lost in horrible fashion. Very similarly to the Dallas Cowboys. Their quarterback, their head coach, who's been great in the regular season, blows it in the playoffs like he did last year. They're highly talented, they're slightly limited quarterback, who some people question, despite having good stats, blew it in the playoffs. Their defensive coordinator, who's supposedly legendary, blew it in the playoffs in a big game, like he always does. Dan Quinn and Vic Fangio alike. I don't know what the problem is in Miami. I'm not sure if it's a Mike McDaniel thing or a Tua thing. But what is happening? You lost to Kansas City, and it's not like they lost close, they lost poorly. I know the weather was bad. I know your defense was reeling. But you had the number one offense in the NFL, and you put up 7 points. Tyreek Hill's a deep ball machine, and you run screen passes all the dang time. What is happening? I think what could be happening, even though I said I don't know what's happening, I just remembered what I'd written down earlier. Anyways, what I think could be happening with the Miami Dolphins is they just over-scheme things a little too much. They have to have things go exactly their way. It has to be on the script to win. Even with a guy like Tyreek Hill, you're still having him run precise routes. He's quick and shifty. You have to. They're trying to play him open instead of just like, hey, Tyreek's down there, let him run. Jalen Waddle wasn't there, but like you have other receivers like Robbie Anderson. You have Chase Claypool. Okay, that one. Yeah, I wouldn't throw to him. You got some good players out there, Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane. These are talented guys. Just give them the ball and let them do their thing. But it feels like Mike McDaniel has to script everything to death. Kind of the same problem that Sean Payton has sometimes, where he has to be very controlling. You need to be here, 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 in this exact order, in this exact way, so that when it gets slightly thrown off, they have no clue what to do, like they did in Kansas City. It was cold, the Chiefs were physical, and they just got bullied around. I think the Dolphins can benefit from a little more loosey-goosey. Not all the time, but like a little more, just let them play. Let them play and figure it out. You're going to have to make some comebacks, some fourth quarter comebacks. You can't script everything there. You just have to get the ball to the players. Down the field. Scoring. You can't be throwing screen passes when you're down 13. Or down more, actually. You can't throw screen passes when you're down 7-26. You got to get the ball down the field. You got to let Tua, you're going to have to make some plays. Not everything can be on script. You can't always... It's not even like you have to be a Patrick Mahomes, scramble around. You can be a Tom Brady, throw it to this guy, he's open, Peyton Manning, scan the defense. It doesn't matter. You just got to stop relying so heavily on that script, Like the Dolphins are doing with Mike McDaniel and Tua. Big problem I'm seeing. Other big problems arise in Philadelphia. These transitions are strange. Nick Siriani and the Eagles headed to Tampa Bay, even though they had a better record, and lost a humiliating game 32-9. It was almost close at one point, but after a late touchdown by Baker Mayfield to, I don't remember the receiver's name, it was over. It was just over. Baker torched their horrendous defense coached by Matt Patricia for 312 yards and 3 touchdowns. The defense couldn't do anything. The offense was terrible. Jalen was getting sacked all the time. He had pressure in his face all the time. They couldn't get that running game working. Jalen, A.J. Brown was out. Devontae Smith made some occasional plays, but they just had no juice. And even worse, they lost. They were pushed back on the tush push. They were pushed back on the tush push. It failed on the goal line. That's when you knew it was all over for the Eagles. And a lot of people are calling for Sirianni's job. And I kind of get it. They did implode at the end of the season, but hold on. I understand why Sirianni... A lot of people think he should be fired. But this is a man who took over a team that was terrible in 2020. He comes in, leads them with Jalen Hurts to the playoffs. They lose to Tampa, but, it's his first season. He makes them look good. And then the next year, he trades for A.J. Brown and makes a Super Bowl. And they almost won that Super Bowl if the refs just made the right call and let him play. But no. I'm not going to get into that right now. And then he makes the playoffs this year, while losing two coordinators. His defensive coordinator, who turns out was not the problem in Philadelphia, and his OC Shane Steichen, and he has to replace both of them and try and get back on track. You see why it's kind of hard? But he still made the playoffs 3 years in a row. He's proven to be a good head coach in this league. I know it ended horribly, but I feel like moving on from him is a bit brash and a bit rash. But then again, the Eagles did move on from Doug Peterson, and it worked out, so I don't know. But I'm just saying I would not move on from Nick Siriani if I'm the Eagles. But I'm not the Eagles, so you do what you will. Right. It's the end of the episode, and it is time, ladies and gentlemen, to get on to my predictions for the 2023, whatever it is, NFL divisional round, starting with the first game. Houston Texans at Baltimore Ravens. Who wins? Lamar versus CJ Stroud. It's going to be Lamar and the Baltimore Ravens. Stroud has played amazingly up to this point. Nico Collins has been a beast in these playoffs. The defense was surprisingly good against Cleveland, although it was Joe Flacco. But the Ravens are on another level. I mean, they have a great defense this year with Mike McDonald coaching. They have some good receivers. Finally, with the rookie, I can't remember his name, he was really good. Lamar has been playing like the MVP of the league. They have a first-round bye. By all accounts, they should win this game. Like, they have every right to win this game. If they don't, I'm going to be asking some serious questions. Packers at 49ers. Ooh, this one will be interesting. It's in San Francisco. Green Bay under Aaron Rodgers, I don't think ever beat the 49ers in the playoffs. But Jordan Love's now the quarterback. He just took down Dallas in Dallas. And I know San Francisco's a really good team. And they'll probably win. But I could definitely see a world where Green Bay pulls off the upset because Jordan Love's playing with confidence. He's spunky. But I'm going to pick San Francisco. Probably going to pick all home teams again, but I'm just saying, like, San Francisco's dominant. Christian McCaffrey's been good. Brock Purdy was good last year in the playoffs against Dallas. He was good until he got hurt against Philly. They had 2 weeks to prepare for Green Bay. I think they'll win. If they don't, then again, more serious questions shall be asked. No one will be asked if Green Bay loses, by the way. Like, the fact that they're here is honestly amazing. What's the next game? I think it's the NFC. It is indeed. This one's going to be interesting. Tampa Bay at Detroit. I'm excited for this one. Tampa's coming in. They're hot. So are the Lions. I think the Lions are going to win this game. I really do like Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I really want Baker Mayfield to go on to the Super Bowl and win. That would be awesome, just for him. But the Lions are just stacked. I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, Sam Laporta, Jamison Williams, Josh Reynolds, Jared Goff, defense including Brian Branch, Jack Campbell, Aiden Hutchinson. Just so stacked across the board. Tampa is very stacked themselves with Mike Evans and Baker and Chris Godwin and Kay Dotton and that defense with David White and Shaq Barrett and Vita Vea and Antoine Winfield Jr. And there was another one, Levante David. Oh, it's Devin White. That's his name. All very good. However, just Detroit's a little too... They have the home field. They're very, very talented. I think this is going to be a little too much for Tampa to handle. But it's been a good run by Tampa thus far. But I think Detroit's going to win. And finally, the big game of the week. The one everyone's waiting to see. Patrick Mahomes versus Josh Allen. I hope this is going to be a good game. Now, by every rights, the Bills should win this game. However, I can definitely see this as the potential upset for KC to win because of the script. Nothing else, really. No, obviously, Patrick Mahomes is still the best quarterback in the NFL. He's coming in. The team's getting hot right now. Isaiah Pacheco's running hard. The defense is great. And Andy Reid is Andy Reid. But Josh Allen obviously remembers losing to Patrick Mahomes back-to-back years. He remembers last year losing in the divisional round to the Cincinnati Bengals. and how humiliating that was. They should have won that game, but they didn't. They had home field. They had the snow. They lost that game. This is Patrick Mahomes' first ever road game in the playoffs as an NFL quarterback, if you don't count Tampa in the Super Bowl, which was kind of a road game. But I think that the Bills will win this game. It's going to be tough. I really hope they win this game. If not, I'm going to be very angry. But I think Buffalo beats the Chiefs in this game. It goes on to the AFC Championship game in Baltimore. And that will do it for me in this episode of Ruffing the Passer. Episode 91, Part 2. Thank you very much for watching. I much appreciate it. Please hit the subscribe button and share this with your friends and family. Hit that like button. Hit the bell to stay notified when all uploads are uploaded. I thank you very much for watching again, and I will see you later.